may have seen the announcement on the community tab, but if you didn't read it, it has been decided that revolt.chat is no longer viable due to a number of factors. Instead, I went ahead and started rebuilding the Kogiwas Nation core server on Matrix. So in the link below, instead of that revolt.chat link, it will instead be a link to our Matrix community, and you'll be able to join using one of the many Matrix clients out there. So that said, we hope you understand this decision, and have a nice day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kogiwas Nation. My name is Secret Agent Yukino Kogiwas. I'm the founder and the director of the Kogiwas Industry Spy Network and the Kogiwas Nation. As you may see, I decided to do a Sonic the Hedgehog tier list. There is a reason for this. Despite the amount of Nintendo games I may have, I am more of a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of guy than I am a Mario kind of guy. Okay, so I am more into that. I did beat a couple of Sonic games. One of them was a fan game. That was the first one I've ever beaten, by the way. Sonic Robo Blast 2, fantastic game to play. Anyway, these are all of the official mainline Sonic the Hedgehog games in which I have played. I don't see another one. I don't see another one that was added. Okay. So, that said, let's get straight into it. We're going to be starting on the top left with Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This is basically a westernized Puyo Puyo. I've yet to play this again. I hadn't played it in a long time. But it's basically Puyo Puyo, so that should be fine. This was before the time Puyo Puyo came here to the United States. But otherwise, Mean Bean Machine, I placed it out alright. It is a puzzle game, and I'm not very good at puzzle games. Unless you see me playing Tetris, which I got over 400,000 at one time, but that was from a level 15 start. I only got 300k from like a level 18 start, I think. Or was it 500k? I think it was over 500k, almost 600 I think, from a level 15 start. I don't really care about that. What I do care about is the next game on the list, which is Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. There are two of them that I will be comparing. This one, the Beijing version, and the Vancouver version. I have both games, and I will show you once I get to Sonic and the Secret Rings. This first one, I do have it on the Wii. I've actually played it on the Wii. It is just a lot of Wiimote waggling and a lot of Wiimote abuse. Because of the amount of Wiimote abuse that you have to partake in, I am going to be placing it in Sonic Speed. The games are kind of fun, but they can get kind of repetitive, so I am going to knock it down a point for that. On top of that, you're also facing some pretty challenging stuff as well, and there's just a lot that you have to deal with. So keep that in mind too. Whereas the 2010 variant, I'm actually going to place this on Super Sonic tier. The reason why I'm placing this on Super Sonic tier is because this is, I think, one of the best Olympic games I've ever played. Like, one of the Olympic video games, this is apparently the best one I have played thus far. I've yet to find a better game than this. Despite it being not so realistic to the actual sports at hand, it's more arcadey. That's fine. It's more of a simcade of anything. And I kind of like simcade, to be completely fair. So that's just my personal opinion on it. Next is going to be Sonic 06. Now, if I were to have played the original version, which I've played the PlayStation version if I'm not mistaken, PS3, I would be placing this on I'm Waiting. But of course, a fan or a group of fans would actually start remaking this game in the Unity engine. They are a Brazilian project called Project 06. Yes, this is a Brazilian project. Love the people doing it. Because of what they've been doing, I can push it up a bit. I am going to be placing it in You're Too Slow, mainly because the story needs a little bit of fixing. Because the story is just all over the place, from what I have heard. It's pretty garbage. But otherwise, the mechanics are fantastic in Project 06. But in the original, not so much. It's kind of garbage. Sonic 3D Blast for the Genesis. This, I think, was Sonic's first foray into 3D. And at least the one that I know of. The first one I know of that was 3D, all the way back in like the 90s. This is like a game from 95 or 97. I don't know exactly when it released. I'm sure the editor has that information available. I'll probably have researched it then. I'll ship it off to him. So, that said, it is pretty garbage. I'm going to be placing it on Come On because of just the weird platforming that I have to do. It's pretty difficult. The next game on this list is going to be Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. This is Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. I have the original one as well. I've played both of these on an iPad. I kid you not. I've played these on an iPad. Not an iPad 10, but a decently powerful iPad for the time. And oh boy, these two were actually good. But I think Transformed had the potential, it just wasn't there. So I am going to be placing it on, I think I'll place it on Alright. Whereas with Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, the original, I am going to be placing this Sonic Speed. Mainly because this game was fantastic for the time. Unlike the last game on the list, Sonic Team Sonic Racing. Yes, I have that one as well. Sonic and Knuckles, another game I don't have. Yes, I've played this game before. Sonic and Knuckles is quite a treat, if you know what you're doing properly. I hadn't beaten the game, so I am going to target a few points for that. I am going to be placing this in... I'll place it in Alright, mainly based upon it being from Sonic 3. I think it actually used the Sonic 3's engine, if I'm not mistaken. And Knuckles is entirely playable, so there's that to consider. Now here's the first game that will go into the I'm waiting category, and that's going to be Sonic and the Secret Rings. Now, I've got the 2 Olympic Games in which I've placed on this list that are not never played, and Sonic and the Secret Rings. Here's why. I told you I had them, although the cover for this one was bitten off a bit, probably by a dog who was teething at the time, so there's that. I was able to get this. I'm very glad I did. I'm very glad I've got these 3 games, because they work extremely well. Also, I'm not going to bring out Team Sonic Racing, but I do have the PlayStation 4 version of the game, so there is that to consider. Sonic CD. This version is the mobile version of the game. I've gotten to play it, and I personally don't care for it. I am going to be placing it in Hurry Up. But I'm sure the original Sonic CD for the Sega CD would have been much better without the ads. Oh my goodness. The advertisements is just... I can't with the ads. Next, Sonic Colors. I've played this game on the Nintendo Wii. They did remake the game. There is a remake of it, but the remake of Sonic Colors is just... blah. It's so garbage. Did they fix any of the bugs from the original, or did they just port it with all the bugs included? I think they just ported it with all the bugs included. So, because of that, I am going to be placing this in You're Too Slow. Mainly because the game is just bug-ridden if you dig deep enough, and speedrunners will definitely be able to use those bugs to their advantage. So, there's that. Next is Sonic Dash, a mobile game. I have played this, and it's actually pretty darn good. I am going to be placing this in Sonic Speed. So there is that to consider as well. Next up are both of these Sonic Drift games. I haven't played Sonic Drift too much, but I've definitely played the original. Because I hadn't played them, I am going to be adjusting the score a little bit for both of these games. This one especially, I hadn't played this too much, but otherwise I am going to be placing this in You're Too Slow. Sonic Drift, I am going to be placing this in... Actually, I think it's considered to be Supersonic. It is one of the best racing games I have played, especially for a Sega Game Gear game of all things, so that's why I had placed it up there. It was one of the best Game Gear games I've ever played, despite being a little stupid, but do I even care? I don't think so. Next is going to be essentially a clone of Sonic Dash, but this is Sonic Forces Dash or whatever. This is another mobile game, and you're just facing other players. You're essentially facing other players. I am placing this in Hurry Up mainly because of how garbage the multiplayer can be at times. Next is Sonic Generations. I have not gotten much of a chance to play this game, but when I did, I had an okay time. But I personally wouldn't care for it, so I'm going to place it on Come On, mainly because of how the story was written and all kinds of weird things. A lot of mechanical things were also wrong with this game from what I've heard as well. Sonic Heroes is also a very good option as well. I am going to place it on Sonic Speed, mainly because of the mechanical values, and I've played the GameCube version of the game, and I've played the PS2 version of the game. Although the PS2 version I played on emulation, but that's fine, right? I was able to do this just fine without any issues, and yeah, still the same Sonic Heroes I remember playing as a kid, but actually getting a little bit deeper into the game than when I did at my friend's house quite a long time ago. Probably like 2008 maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Sonic Lost World. Say no more. The story, absolute garbage. I played this on an acquaintance's 3DS. I've played it on a 3DS before. Ugh. Why? Sega, why? Anyway, what's not bad news is Sonic Riders. I played the PlayStation 2 version and the GameCube version, plus the ROM hacks that are made for Sonic Riders that are really meant for balance purposes. And I am going to be focusing on the competitive and balancing mods for the game. I should actually do the same thing again. That was kind of fun. It was quite fun playing it. I did play Sonic Riders on the channel before, and I'm going to be placing it actually in Super Sonic tier, mainly because the original Sonic Riders, yes, it may have had some problems, but it was one of the best GameCube racers I've played. One of the best. Right up there with Mario Kart Double Dash. I've also played Double Dash on emulation before. Fantastic. Next is Sonic R. There is a PC version of this game. They did have a PC version of this game out, and I am actually going to be placing it in... I'm also going to place it in Super Sonic, actually. Despite the bugs that may have been found in this game, it's actually a really good speed game to play, especially if you're part of the speedrunning community. You just have to learn a couple tricks, a couple of hard tricks. Hey, the speedruns aren't bad, and the speedrunning routes are kind of consistent if you know what you're doing. Next is Sonic Rush. I actually had this game as a kid. I don't know what the heck happened to it. But anyway, I am going to be placing this in Hurry Up though, mainly because the story wasn't well written. But despite the story, this was the debut of Blaze the Cat. And man, she was on fire for that game, that's for sure. Next, I believe this to be Sonic Spinball, which is a pinball game. I personally don't care for it too much, so I am going to be placing it on Come On. Next is the PlayStation 3 version of Sonic the Fighters. Yes, they had a PlayStation 3 version of this exact game before, and oh boy, I had gotten to play it for the first time in like 22. I think this was 2022 or early 23 when I got to play this game for the first time. It blew my mind that this fighting game still holds up even to this day. I am going to be placing this on Super Sonic, mainly because the fighting game mechanics are just that flippin' good. Next, Sonic 2, the Christian Whitehead version. I did place the Christian Whitehead version of Sonic CD in Hurry Up, but Sonic 2, I mean, not bad, it is alright, but I could just do without the ads. Honestly, I could just do without the ads. Sonic 2 for the Genesis. Even though some people are saying that this was better than Sonic 1, I'm actually going to place this on Sonic Speed. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I've played Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I'm going to place it on alright. I'm not really too much of a fan of it, nor am I much of a fan of Sonic 3 either. I'm going to place that one in You're Too Slow. Sonic 4 Episode 1. Yes, I've played this pile of garbage. I've played this bucket of bolts. It's going in I'm Waiting. Such garbage. Here we have Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the original version, Master System version, I think, of Sonic the Hedgehog. There were multiple covers for the original game, just made in different ways. But the Master System version of the game is actually not too bad. Though it is 8-bit, so I will dock a couple points for that. The graphics look fantastic for an 8-bit game though. I am going to be placing this in alright, actually. Next is going to be the OG. What can I say? This was the game that even beat out Super Mario World. In the 16-bit console wars, when Nintendo and Sega were going at it for a while, Sonic the Hedgehog actually beat out Super Mario World by a whole butt ton. I kid you not. These were the numbers that I was able to find on the amount sold. I may have gotten bad information, but I think this game did a little better than Super Mario World if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I've gotten to play Super Mario World as well, and the speedruns for that game though, oh my goodness, and the ROM hacks. The ROM hacks are pretty darn good compared to the ROM hacks for Sonic 1, but we don't talk about those. I'm not going to. And then finally, Team Sonic Racing. Yes, I have it for the PlayStation 4. I wanted to get this at the PC, but for some reason, since I'm on Linux, I don't think the PC version would necessarily work very well. But I have been playing this for quite a bit, and I've sunk a little bit of time into it. I'm going to place this actually and hurry up, mainly because this is the worst Sonic the Hedgehog racing game that I have played. It is kind of pointless. Yes, the graphics are fine and the mechanics are okay. It's just you have to repeat a lot of things, and by the same token, what's the whole point of like 3? Like, what's the whole point of trios racing? I mean, a lot of characters are missing from the game, so I don't know what it could be. But that is my Sonic the Hedgehog tier list. You really shouldn't care about the never played section because, yeah, I've never played any of these games. As far as I'm aware, I've never played any of these games, including the multiple versions of Sonic Unleashed. There's a PlayStation 2 version, an Xbox and PS3 version, and a Nintendo DS version. I've not played Sonic Unleashed, nor have I played Sonic Adventure 2. Except if you count the Sonic Adventure 2 stages in a couple of the games, I've played those, but that doesn't count. Nor have I played the original Sonic Adventure. That being said, I am about out of time for today's video. Thank you, and good night.